All right, let's open our Ramayana. So we know that where the story we ended last Tuesday. Uh, Hanumanji has found Sita. He is hiding in the tree up there and watched and listened to that conversation and the threats which Ravan gave. And after that, Ravan left with all those ladies he came with. So now Trijita's dream. Trijita is one of the older Rakshasi uh, in that Ashok one taking care of Sita. Okay, so Trijita. So when Ravan left, the Rakshasas began to cajole Sita again. They knew their master would not think twice to kill them if Sita did not give in to him. These were not beautiful consorts who ever warmed the Rakshas's bed. They were coarse warrior women who guarded his female prisoners, his spoils of war. It fell to them to persuade the more desirable and captives brought back to Lanka that the best course open to them was to go to Ravan's bed. No woman ever before, not Gandharvi or Apsara, Kinnari, Siddhi, or Asuri had held out against their persuasions for more than a few days. But this human princess was different. 6 months had passed, and there was no sign of her yielding. And after the morning's encounter between Sita and their master, the Rakshasas of the Ashok one were alarmed. They were determined to persuade her by fair means or foul. The most beautiful women would give anything to spend a night in Ravan's bed. But you refuse him. She is vain and foolish. She doesn't know what she is doing. So these are like a different Rakshasas. They are saying that. Silly creature, your beauty blinds you to the truth of your plight. But beauty does not last long. Be Ravan's queen, arrogant one, and you will have wealth beyond your dreams and power. Such pleasure in his bed that you could not dream of. Do you know how virile a Rakshas is? And this is not just any Rakshas, but Ravan himself. They brought their fanged faces close, making her gag with their putrid breath. They smiled and snarled at her. They hissed in her ears like serpents. Sita wept. Little Hanuman sat in the tree, wisely restraining himself from committing any rashness. Though his blood boiled, and he longed to tear those Rakshasas limb from limb. Sita said, I would rather die than be unfaithful to Ram. They growled like a pack of wild dogs, snapping around her. Seeing that reason and argument had little effect on Sita, they began to threaten her. What a tasty meal she will make! She is too succulent to be left alive. She torments our king. He neither wakes nor sleeps in peace. Let us cut her up and divide her soft flesh. Sita jumped up and, stopping her ears, ran out of the little temple. She stood panting under an ashok tree like a fawn at bay. The pack of Rakshasas still growled and raged. Her flesh will be better for us to eat than to warm Ravan's bed. She is so vain, she will be cold in his arms anyway. When he knows she is dead, he will come to his senses again. We'll be doing him a service. If we are to die anyway, let us kill her first. Let us do it now. This folly has gone on too long. The Rakshasas streamed out of the little shrine with murder on their minds. Ram, Sita cried outside. Lakshman, oh my mothers in Ayodhya, why have you all forsaken me? She saw the Rakshasas advance on her, their eyes full of death. She moaned. When they were just a few feet from Sita, an older Rakshasi called Trijata awoke from a strange dream. She came flying out of the little temple. She slapped two of the younger ones resoundingly. Have you gone mad? Do you want to die a slow death in the king's dungeons? Come away, you fools, and listen to what I have to tell you. She was the strongest of them, their leader, and the ones she slapped whined. Trijita said, Sita, come and hear what I dreamed. Trijita had always been kind to Sita, since Ravan first brought her to the Ashokwan. As time wore on and Sita resisted the demon's every effort to seduce her, Trijita's kindness had grown into adoration. Now Sita was not averse to listening to the old Rakshas's dream, though she would not go any closer to hear it, but stood wiping her tears, still shaking from her near escape. Her fierce eyes full of a dream, Trijta said, I saw blue Ram clad in flowing white silk. He wore a garland of white lotuses, which were not of this world. Oh, he was handsome past imagining. He sat in a chariot of the firmament, an ivory viman drawn by white swans. Our Sita wore royal white as well, and she sat beside him. Then I saw Ram riding a four-tusked elephant, a son of Eravat, as glorious as his brother Lakshman rode beside him through a deep forest. Someone waited for them in a glade hidden in the heart of that forest. I saw her face. It was our Sita, and Ram and Lakshman came to her in joy. Ram set Sita on his elephant, and they flew through the sky, for the children of Eravat go that way. The other Rakshasas, who were impressionable and superstitious for all their fierceness, listened raptly to Trijita, their thick mouths hanging open. Under her tree, Sita thought Trijita's dream had come like a god sent to answer her prayer. The Rakshasi went on. In my dream, they flew to the gates of Lanka. I saw Ram in a golden chariot drawn by eight mighty bulls. As I watched him, he opened his mouth and swallowed the earth. I was terrified. Then there was an ocean of milk everywhere, and a pale mountain rose out of it, majestically. Ram set his elephant upon that mountain, and Lakshman and Sita rode with him. I saw Ram, resplendent, his body made of light, in a fabulous palace. He sat facing east on a golden throne. He was being crowned by an immortal rishi, and congregations of devas and munis had gathered for his coronation. Sita sat beside Ram. It did not seem to me that throne was any of this earth, and I knew there was no throne in any of the three worlds loftier than the one on which dark Ram sat. Lowering her voice to a whisper, Trijita said to her Rakshasas, Ram was Narayan himself, the Parbrahm, and the Sita was Lakshmi his side. At his side. She is a goddess, I tell you. Don't even think of harming a hair of her. There was unearthly music everywhere, like nothing I had ever heard before, and the host of devas surrounded Ram and Sita. I saw Ram, Sita, and Lakshman again in the Pushpak Viman flying north through the sky. Trijita paused. She glanced left and right to make sure no guard had entered the Ashokwan to spy on Ravans. Gathering her Rakshasas closer, draping her long arms around their shoulders, she said in the softest whisper yet, I saw Ravan clad in red, carawil's flowers around his neck and his body glossy with oil. I saw him fall screaming out of the sky from his viman. On the ground, he wore black garments and he was dragged along by a dark woman. I saw him sitting in a chariot drawn by donkeys, and it went south, ever south. He drank oil from a bottle in his hands and laughed insanely as if he had lost his mind. I saw Ravan's brother Kumbhakaran sink beneath the waves. I saw our king's sons all slain. Trijita was thoughtful for a moment. She resumed, I saw Ravan's other brother, the gentle Vibhishan, and he shone like the sun at noon. He sat with the royal parasol unfurled above him. He wore the white silks of kingship and a crown upon his head. Vibhishan came with his head bowed to Ram on his elephant. By what I know of dreams, and they never lie, Ram will come to Lanka, kill Ravan, and take Sita back with him. Lanka's great army will be raised. Finally, just before I awoke, I saw a monkey, one of the Vanar folk. He set fire to our Lanka and she burnt down in ashes. Open mouthed still, the other Rakshasas listened to her. Nearby, under her Ashok tree, Sita sobbed quietly. Hearing Trijita's dream made her cry for joy. It was as if Ram reached a hand across the sea and stroked her face. Sita's left eye throbbed, as did her left shoulder, piquantly, and a current of enchantment coursed through her body. It was a long time since she had felt any hope at all. But now, though there was no sign of it except the old Rakshas's dream, Sita thought rescue was nearer than she had imagined. She felt Ram had flown into the Ashokvan as a breeze and caressed her. She was certain it would not be long before he came for her. In his tree, Hanuman still thought Sita was about to do something drastic to herself. He felt impelled to comfort her. But how could he approach her without being seen by the Rakshasas? Yet, if he went back across the sea without speaking to Sita, the prince would be sad. He might even be angry and burn Hanuman up with a look. Worse still, if he did not bring some hope to Sita quickly, she might take her own life before Ram even landed on the shores of Lanka. I am just a little monkey, said Hanuman to himself. Even if the guards see me, they will think I am harmless. I only hope Sita does not think I am Ravan, who has become a monkey to trick her into his bed. He grew pensive indeed as his imagination raced ahead of him. If she thinks I am Ravan or some other Rakshasa, she might scream. Then surely the Rakshasas will come to capture me. If I am killed, Ram and Sugriv will never land on Lanka because no one else can leap across the sea. All will be lost. I must be very careful. Careful indeed, Hanuman. You do not realize what is it at stake here. What awesome affairs of the world depend on you. You must not startle her. Little monkey, you must be subtle. Then, as if someone unseen decided to help him, an ingenious idea struck the good Vanar. So now the second chapter, chapter number 8. Any question in this one before I start the next one? Okay, the Shimshup tree. The branches of the Shimshup tree on which Hanuman was perched grew out a good way from its trunk. Creeping sure-footedly along those branches, the Vanar went out as far as he could without showing himself. The Rakshasas, who had been ready to kill Sita, were frightened by what Trijita said. Most of them wandered back to the little temple and are already fallen asleep under its round pillars. A few conferred together and decided to meet Ravan to tell him that none of their persuasions had moved their ward. Sita stood beneath the Ashok tree, gazing out across the ocean with unseeing eyes. She stood fidgeting with her limp plate, torn between her instinct of hope and the terror of her predicament. Suddenly, out of the sky, a little voice spoke. Little, but so solemn. It spoke half to her and half musically to itself. Strange things this voice was saying or chanting. There once was a king called Dashrath. He was a Raj Rishi. Great was his power and radiant his truth. His wealth and valor were legend, famed in all three worlds. More renowned, yet he was the tapasya of Dashrath of Ikshvaku, of the race of Surya Deva. He was as strong as Indra, kind as a father to his people, noble and generous. Not only among men, but among the gods, this king had renown and honor. Sita looked around her in amazement, and she saw no one. But the quaint chanting continued like an intimate mantra. Four sons mighty Dashrath had. The eldest was Ram, and the king loved him more than his life. Ram is a Kshatriya among Kshatriyas. He is the greatest archer in the world, a terror to his enemies, a protector of his people. Wise, compassionate, and immaculate in Dharma is Ram of Ayodhya. Sita quivered with joy waking in her. The tide of hope surged higher than ever. She stood rapt, listening to the charming voice rambling on. To preserve Dashrath's honor, Ram went to the jungle, renouncing kingdom and comfort, wealth and power. With Sita and Lakshman, Ram went to the Dandakwan, clad in tree bark and deer skin like any tapasvi. The prince of Dharma went into the fearful one. Fate brought Ram to the jungle where austere rishis, whose tapasya blesses the earth, were harassed by Rakshas. The demons desecrated the hermits' yagyas. They killed the munis and drank their blood. Ram slew the evil ones. The forest resounded with his bowstring, and far away the emperor of sin trembled on his crystal throne. Deep in his soul, he sensed a light come into the world for its liberation from his reign of fear. From a dark stirring in the Lord of Savagery, his brothers attacked Ram at Panchvati, but Ram killed them all. Khar he dispatched, Trisras, Dushan, and 14,000 others with lucific arrows. Sita stood motionless, the soft words binding her in a trance. When Ravan heard about the massacre of his people, he was furious. He decided Ram must die. But when the evil one heard of Ram's prowess, he thought cunning and grief were better weapons than arrows to fight the prince of Ayodhya with. With the help of a golden stag, which was no deer at all, he kidnapped Sita from Panchvati. Now she was agog to hear what followed. For of course she did not know what had happened to Ram after Ravan abducted her. Her face was alight with eagerness. Her eyes darted all around her and up at the leafy branches. Still, she saw no one. The little voice went on serenely. Grief stricken and consoled by his loyal brother, Ram wandered through the forest, seeing his love. And on a mountain in the wilderness, he made friends with a monkey. The monkey was called Sugriv, and he promised to help Ram find his Sita. In return, Ram killed Vali and set Sugriv on the throne of Kishikanda, from where he rules all the monkeys of the earth. At his command, Sugriv's monkeys combed the ends of Bharatvarsh for Sita. Nowhere did they find her. At last, on the southern shore of Bharatvarsh, an army of Vanars led by their prince Angad thought of killing themselves because they had failed in their quest. But then an eagle called Sampati, who is Jatayu's brother, told them where she was. One of those monkeys leaped across the ocean to this Lanka, and he was the son of wind. At long last, he found Sita in an Ashokwan, but he did not know how to approach her, lest he frighten her. The voice paused and then said, Devi, I am that Vanar. Sita quivered in amazement, twisting her long plait in her fingers. Her eyes full of wonder, full of fear, she peered up into the branches of the Shimshuk tree. At first, she saw nothing. Nervously, she looked around her. Suppose the Rakshasas had also heard the little voice, but they were all asleep inside the white temple. She peered more closely now. She scrutinized every branch of the spreading tree. Slowly, Hanuman climbed out of a leafless fork and smiled sweetly down at her. Sita gasped when she saw a tiny monkey clad in fine silk, his fur the color of the bricks that paved the paths in the Ashokvan. Fear had become so much part of her life, and the Warner saw it flash across her perfect features. For a long moment, she stared silently up at him. He was so small and affable, his eyes kindly and golden, there seemed to be no harm in him at all. But she looked up at him through her own suspicions and saw him as a sinister creature. Certain that he was evil, she turned away with a cry. She began to chant Ram and Lakshman's names feverishly under her breath. I must be dreaming, Sita told herself. They say that to dream of a monkey is an evil omen. I pray no harm has befallen Ram and Lakshman, that this monkey speaks so knowingly of them. I hope my father Janak is well. Doubt had its way with her. She wrung her hands and said to herself, But I am not asleep. I must be it must be madness that grips me in my misery. I think of Ram so much that my imagination is playing tricks on me. I hear these words of hope in my desolation, though no one speaks them. She paused, considering this for another moment. Then she whispered, "But what about the monkey? He is no figment of my fancy." She shut her eyes and said in a quavering voice, "May the gods help me. May Indra, Brihaspati, Brahma, and Agni have mercy on me. May what the monkey says be true." Hanuman slipped down the tree and prostrated himself, small and elegant, at her feet. When he rose, he held his hands folded together above his head and said to her, "Devi, your soiled silk shimmers like sunlight. Your eyes are like lotus petals. You seem to me to be quite perfect, yet you stand here so forlorn, clinging to a tree. As water drips from a lotus, tears spill from your eyes. Why do you weep, Devi? What ails you? What terrible sorrow? Who are you? Are you a Gandharvi or a Nag Kanya? Are you an Asuri, a Yakshi, or a Kinnari? Ethereal one, you are surely not of this world. Perhaps you are Rohini separated from the moon, that you are stricken. Your eyes are so beautiful, they were not meant to shed tears. But I see that your feet rest on the ground, so you must be a human princess, the wife of a great prince, perhaps, even Ram's wife. Yes, I do believe you are Sita. When I see your sorrow, I know that no other woman on earth grieves as you do." Her hand still resting on the Ashok's branch, she said, "I am Dashrath of Ayodhya's daughter-in-law. I am Janak of Vide's daughter. I am called Sita and I am Ram's wife. Once Dashrath wanted to crown Ram Yuvraj, but on the day of coronation, fate took a cruel hand in our lives. When Ram was exiled by Kaikeyi, he told me to stay behind in Ayodhya. But I could not bear to be separated from him, and I went with him into the Dandakwan. We were so happy together in the forest until Ravan carried me away. For 6 months I have lived in dread in Lanka. The Rakshas gives me 2 more moons to submit to him. At the end of that time, when I do not yield, he will have my body served in pieces for his morning meal and my blood in a golden goblet to drink." She stood distraught before Hanuman. Okay, this is the end of chapter number 8. Any question, comment? No? Okay.
How long Sita ji was in Lanka?
So
How
it
long?
was 6 months, 6 months already.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say another month.
So total 7 months she was there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, from this, that's what it seems like,
Okay, thank you.
right?
I think Manju had something to say. Manju?
Yes, ma'am.
No, no, thank you.
No? You unmuted, so.
Oh,
Okay. So the way of Dharma. Hanuman said, "Devi, Ram sent me here. I bring you news of him. He grieves every moment for you, and Lakshman consoles him. Ram sends word to you and inquires how you are." A thrill of excitement swept through Sita. She cried, "I have heard that hope is always answered, and joy comes to the most miserable. Now it streams into my heart." They stood speaking softly about Ram for a while. When he thought Sita trusted him, Hanuman went nearer. With a cry, she released the branch she held and sat abruptly on the ground. She was certain Hanuman was Ravan in disguise, scheming to come near her, to touch her, perhaps force himself on her. She said defiantly, "If you are Ravan trying to deceive me as you did at Panchoti, all I have to say to you is stop tormenting me. Even you must think I have suffered enough." At once Hanuman lay on his face again at her feet. While her breath came in gasps, the little monkey lay motionless. Slowly she saw he meant her no harm and understood her fear. She wept again. Then she grew quiet and said, "But perhaps you are just what you say you are. Since you lie so humbly before me, perhaps you are indeed a messenger from Ram. When I look at you, my mind grows calm and peace steals over my heart, even in this terrible place. If you are truly who you say you are, then arise, little monkey. You have my blessing. Arise and tell me about my Ram. Despite my worst fears, my heart is drawn to you, for you appear to be a soul of great goodness. Tell me about my husband, Vanar. Tell me how he is. Hanuman's eyes were full, but he said nothing. Suspicion flared up again in Sita's heart. Once more, she was certain Ravan had become a little monkey to approach her. She withdrew again into silence. Now Hanuman said so gently, "Trust me, Devi, I am not deceiving you. I have come from Ram. If you do not believe me, I will describe him for you. Ram is as brilliant as the sun and as tender as the moon. As Kuber is of the earth, he is lord of all the worlds. His power is as profound as Narayan's and his speech as wise and gentle as Brihaspati's. He is as handsome as Kamdev would be if the god of love took a human form. Though he is the noblest of men and grows angry only when he is grievously wronged, he is a terror to his enemies and there is no archer like him anywhere. Soon, very soon, you will see Ram's arrows burn up the sky and bring death's justice to Ravan. Don't doubt me, Sita. Ram has sent me to find you. He grieves for you night and day. Lakshman sends his greetings to you, and so does my master Sugriv. As soon as I take word back to them, Ram and Lakshman will storm Lanka with a Vanar army and rescue you. I am good Sugriv's minister, Devi, and my name is Hanuman. When Sampati told us you were held here, I leaped across the sea to find you. Don't doubt me. Ram sent me to you. A smile dawned on Sita's face, and it was like the sun appearing from behind dark clouds, as if she had just woken from an evil trance and saw Hanuman before her for the first time. She cried eagerly, "When did you meet Ram? Where did you meet my husband? Tell me, good monkey, how do you know Lakshman?" Then again the shadow of doubt. Describe them carefully. I must be sure that you really know them. Hanuman launched into the story of how he first met Ram and Lakshman on Rishimu and how he took them to Sugriv, who hid in fear lest the Kshatriyas or Vali's agents come to kill him. The monkey described the oath of friendship Ram and Sugriv swore, with Agni as their witness. He told of the slaying of Vali and the crowning of Sugriv. He spoke of how Ram and Lakshman lived in the cave when the rains came. Sugriv forgot himself in the pleasures of his harem, and the Vanar's quest for Sita was delayed. He described Lakshman's wrath and his arrival in Kishikanda. Sita sat enraptured before him, doubt gone from her for the time being. As Hanuman spoke about Ram, it was clear that the prince had come to mean everything to the Vanar. Sita felt deep kinship with Hanuman. Adoringly, the little one spoke of her Kshatriya in his grave voice, and monkey and princess were bound in a trustful covenant of which Ram was the secret. Hanuman said, "When the month Sugriv gave us to find you in the south had elapsed, we despaired and thought of ending our lives by the sea. But Sampati the eagle had seen Ravan bearing you through the sky to Lanka. With his hunting eyes, he peered across the ocean of 100 yojans and saw you in this Ashok one. After that, it was just a matter of deciding which of the Vanars would make the leap across the waves. I was chosen, Devi, and I am so glad of it that I can see your face and bring you some solace, that I can tell you Ram will be here swiftly to save you from terror." As Hanuman spoke, Sita's face softened. Now he saw how beautiful she was, how kind her eyes were, and how serene when he spoke about Ram. "I arrived here yesterday, and all night I spent searching for you in Ravan's Antapur." Sita shuddered to think of herself there. Hanuman went on, "I saw many lovely women there, but none that was as sad as I knew you would be. I saw Ravan asleep on his crystal bed. I saw his queen near by him, but I did not see you, and I despaired. Then, as I sat on a pillar wondering how to end my life, a shaft of the setting moon pierced my eye and this garden at once, and suddenly a great hope was upon me. I searched the Ashok for a long time, but I did not find you, and my heart sank again until I climbed this tree and saw the little temple. I crept up to the white pillars, then I saw you, and when I saw how you wept, I knew you were Ram's love. The rest of the night I spent in this Shimshup tree. By the light of dawn, I watched Ravan arrive and saw you keep him away. I grieved for you, but I dared not attack Ravan. If I was killed, who would take news of you back to Ram? Hanuman stood before Sita with his hands still folded, and he saw tears start in her eyes again. But these were tears of relief. He saw she did not doubt him anymore. He said, Ram sent this ring to you, so you could trust me. He stepped forward and shyly pressed the signet ring into her hands. Tears streamed again from her eyes, dripping onto the golden thing that lay in her palm. She felt Ram so near her that she might touch him. She cried to Hanuman, Forgive me that I doubted you. I have been the Rakshasa's prisoner for so long that my faith has worn thin. Ram gave you this ring, or you would not have had it. I know he would never give it to just anyone, but only to one whom he trusted entirely. I see by your deeds that he was not mistaken, not the yawning sea, not Ravan and his Rakshasas could keep you from finding me. Even when I received you with suspicion, you did not flinch from your mission, O Hanuman. I thank you. Hanuman bowed solemnly to her, and a delighted smile lit his face. Sita continued, Now I have no doubt that Ram will come for me, with Lakshman beside him, and then not Ravan, not the host of Devas who could stand against them. I have wondered that I did not already see my husband's astras burning up Lanka's sky. But then I thought it was my fate to bear my suffering patiently, and the agony I have endured was written for me before I was born. Hanuman, since he did not come for me all this while, the evil thought crossed my mind that perhaps Ram had stopped loving me. You don't know how happy I am that you have plucked that fear from my heart. I have my faith back now, and the strength to bear Ravan's torments for as long as I must. For as I look into his fearsome face, I will know that sooner than he dreams, he will lie dead, and his Rakshas's blood will stain the earth. Oh Hanuman, I hope my husband has not lost heart. Hanuman said, He did not forget you or lose heart. He did not know where you were. Now, as soon as I return to Kishkanda, Ram will come to Lanka. Sita, he is grief stricken without you. He cries incessantly, How can you ever think he has forgotten you? He lives with Lakshman in a cave on the mountain called Prasharvan. When he wakes, he is with your name on his lips. And Lakshman said to me, When Ram falls asleep, exhausted, he still whispers your name over and over. If he sees any sight in the forest that pleases him, he tells you about it, shares it with you. Not for a moment are you away from Ram's thoughts, just as I see that not for a moment is he out of yours. Sita glowed, but she bit her lip, and her eyes filled again when she thought of Ram, and that he was so far from her and heartbroken. She said, Hanuman, when I hear he thinks of me, I am full of joy. But when I hear he grieves for me, I know the hell he must be in, and I am full of care for him. All this suffering is because of our karma of past births. The joy we have in this one and the depths of grief are wages for what we have done in lives gone by. No one, not Ram, nor you, nor I, escapes the fruit of karma, be they sweet or so bitter that they destroy us. Hanuman marveled at her gentle wisdom, though her eyes flowed tears as if they were her life. Just think of Ram today, Hanuman. He has an ocean to cross and the Rakshas army to defeat before he can have me back, like a boat lashed by a storm. My prince is tossed on fate's hostile tides. It is 6 months since Ravan brought me here. She sighed. Time is against us. Ravan has a wise brother called Vibhishan who tells him that he should take me back to Ram, but Ravan is blinded by fate as if his death calls him urgently. Vibhishan has a daughter called Anila, and she told me this. When faith moves my heart, O Vanar, I feel certain Ram will come to Lanka. kill the Rakshas and save me. But here in this city of darkness, faith is mostly far from me and my despair always near. And I fear my life is a ruined thing just for my having been here. Yet deep in my heart, I always know my Ram's love is beyond being affected by time and its trials. That despite everything, the sorrow and the ocean, he will come and take me back. Hanuman grieved for her. Ram will be here sooner than you think. But if you like, I can take you out of here today upon my back. I could carry Lanka across the sea if I wanted. She looked at the little monkey and suddenly her laughter tinkled in that garden. It is sweet of you to speak so bravely, Hanuman, but I think you are a little small to carry me out of here on your back. Hanuman smiled serenely. Devi, I am the son of the wind. In a flash, he stood before her for just a moment in his other awesome form, his golden hair brushing the sky. Sita breathed, O Vayuputra, you are greater than you say, or I had dreamed. Small wonder Ram chose you to bear his ring to me, but I am afraid to go with you. Though Ravan brought me here through the sky, I am terrified by flight. Suppose I fell from your back? No, we must not risk such danger. More important, dear Hanuman, my heart insists that Ram must come to Lanka and slay its Rakshas. There is no other reason that I am here. Suffering like this, Ravan is part of our destiny and destiny must take its course. Ram must come to Lanka and kill Ravan, whose power stretches deeper and farther than we imagine. Then Dharma will be established on earth and Ram will be a king as he was born to be. Besides, I would rather die at once than try to escape and be captured again. She looked down shyly and added, Also, good Hanuman, you must forgive me, but I am Ram's wife, and it isn't proper for me to cling to you while we cross the sea. It is true that Ravan held me as he flew through the sky, but that was by force, and he will pay for it with his life. She paused again, and great dreams lit her sad eyes. Dharma is for Ram to rescue me himself. Cross the ocean alone, good Hanuman, and bring Ram back to Lanka. Let there be a war, a Dharma Yudh, as is honorable, and let my husband win me back. Fate has not brought me to this pass to escape like a coward. Ram must come and kill Ravan in battle. Then my sorrow will end. She fell quiet and somber as these thoughts. Hanuman smiled to hear her speak so bravely, knowing she was not alone, had restored her courage beyond his expectation. He had a glimpse of the strength of her character, and he thought that here indeed was Ram's wife, she who suffered in the Ashok one for the sins of the world, that it might be redeemed from the Rakshas by her anguish. Why? Sita was like her mother, the earth. She was Ravan's prisoner. Hanuman said, What you say is just. No one but Ram should touch you. I will fly back and tell him he has 2 months to rescue you. Have you a message for him? Something by which he will believe that I have indeed seen you. Next chapter is kind of a short, just let's.
हाँ
Yes,
नीरू
Neeru. Yes.
जब ये कह रहा है कि भाई when he is saying that it is only 2 months since Ram can come and get you,
Mm-hmm.
but Sita earlier said 2 moons, so wouldn't that be 1 month?
Sita will say that again, that I'm giving 1 month. That Ravan is the one who said that I give you 2 months.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, but Sita will tell Hanuman that just 1 month.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. So next chapter, the Chudamani. Sita said, Say to Ram, good Hanuman, that Sita reminds him of the day he lay asleep with his head in my lap on Chitrakoot, on the banks of the Mandakini. A crow swooped down and pecked me. I threw a stone at the bird, but it came back again. It flew cawing above my head and repeatedly it plunged down to peck me. When he heard me cry out, Ram awoke. He saw my blouse had slipped from my shoulders and my face was flushed. He laughed, saying I had let a crow frighten me. The crow flapped away and perched in a tree some distance away. Ram went back to sleep, and the bird flew at me again. It swooped down thrice and raked my breast with its claws. Some drops of my blood fell on Ram's face, and he awoke. When he saw my blood, Ram pulled up a blade of dharab grass and invoked the Brahmastra. The crow was Indra's son, coming alive in a flash of fire. The Brahmastra flew from Ram's hands and hunted the black bird through the sky. He flew quite quickly as a thought, but the Astra stayed behind him, singing his tail feathers. The moment he stopped, it could consume him. Through the three worlds that crow flew, at last panting and terrified, Indra's son came and fell sobbing at Ram's feet. Ram said, I would forgive you, Dev, but what about the Brahmastra? It must have its prey. Growing into a figure of light, tall as the sky, the son of Indra said, let it have my left eye. So the Brahmastra put out the dark bird's eye, big as a planet, and the Ayudh was appeased. Indra's son fell at our feet, saying he had been sent by his father to test the avatar. He begged our forgiveness and returned where he had come from. Remind Ram of that incident, Hanuman. If he could send the Brahmastra after a crow that pecked me, what will he do to Ravan, who holds me his prisoner and torments me? Her eyes glinted. Tell Ram that Sita asks why he has forgotten her. Why is Ravan still alive after what he has done? What does Lakshman say to this, who is as much a warrior as his brother? For all their valor and being matchless Kshatriyas, they cannot comfort me in my misery. It must surely be the sins of my past lives that have come to roost in this one. Her fine shoulders shook as she wept again. Hanuman said, indifference does not keep the brothers from Lanka. If you saw how poor Ram suffers without you, all your doubts would vanish. Let me fly back to him now, and he will be here swiftly. Ravan's corpse will adorn the earth, and Lanka will be a heap of ashes blowing in the sea wind. Sita said, touch Ram's feet for me. Bless the noble Lakshman, who is the rarest treasure on earth. Tell them I will survive in this place for another month, but not a day longer. After a month, Sita will be dead. Ram must come to Lanka before the moon returns to the nakshatra where he is tonight, or he may never see me alive again. Sita wiped her eyes. She untied a knot in one end of her yellow garment and took out the chudamani she once wore in her hair. She gave it to Hanuman, who received it bowing. His face lit up, and he circled around her in pradakshina. Sita said to the Vanar, give this to Ram. He knows it well. When he sees it, he will think of my mother, of his father Dashrath, and of me. Memories of us three are upon its jewel. Everything depends on you, Hanuman. My life is in your hands. Hanuman bowed again to her. Again, Sita said to him, touch my Ram's feet for me. Tell him he has 1 month to come to my rescue. Hanuman heard for her out patiently while now she repeated herself. Time and again, anxiously, at last he said, Ram will be here sooner than you expect. Then thinking of the Vanar gone, she cried, must you go today? Can't you stay another day and leave tomorrow? Hanuman looked uncomfortable. Sita sighed, I will miss you when you have gone. You have lit my despair with a ray of hope, but I know that the sooner you leave, the sooner Ram will come with the Vanar army. She bit her lip as another unthinkable doubt rose in her mind. Hanuman, how will an army of your people cross the yawning sea into Lanka? Vayu, Garud, and Hanuman may cross the waves, but how will the others come? For the matter, how will Ram come? Hanuman said quietly, the Vanars who serve King Sugriv are a magical people. We have ranged the earth. Nothing can stop us, not rivers or mountains, jungles or oceans. There are many in Sugriv's army who are my equals and many more who are greater than I. Between us, we will devise a way to cross the ocean. Devi, remember the march of Dharma is always inexorable. And as for Ram and Lakshman, they will sit right here on my back one on each shoulder, and fly over the waves to land to Lanka. Let your spirit be at peace. We will come for you. Like gentle rain on a field of green shoots, has your coming been to me, kind Hanuman. Remind Ram of another time when we were alone and my tilk was rubbed away. Remind him of how he took the dust of the Mansila stone and marked my brow with it. Oh, how does he live without me? Here, each moment my life is ready to seep out of me, since my eyes do not see his face. Only with a great effort do I hold it back. Let's stop it here. So, if anybody has any comment or a question, we can talk about it.
Hershey,
Yes.
I know you want to do questions.
And it's exactly like that. About the story about there's a son coming as a crow also, Tilk also, and the conversation between the Sita and Hanumanji also. So everything, word by word, basically, and a lot more detail. Okay. So any question?
Archie, this is Raj.
Yes, Raj.
I have a question about Sita ji. It says her mother was earth.
Yeah, because she came from the earth. You remember when Janak, there was a drought over there in Mithila, and Janak plowed the ground, and a pot came from the ground, and there was a Sita in it, the baby. So mother is earth. She came from the earth.
So she's like a magical baby.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So they didn't have any child, so they just King Janak and his wife, they raised her.
Okay, thank you. I just thought I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah.
any
That is
part
the
of
yeah. That so
so-
that's why she says my mother, and that's why towards the end also we'll see that she will pray to the Mother Earth. I want to come back to you, and Earth opens, and the chariot comes. She sits on the chariot, and Earth closes. She goes back just like that, magically, if you want to say it the way you said it. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that site is in Varanasi. I
Yeah.
haven't seen it, but
Yeah. Okay. So
Thank
let me just, before we ask Padmini to sing a bhajan.
Archie?
Yes,
Archie,
yes,
can I
Prem.
ask a question?
Sure.
Since Sita ji is a magical child, so she didn't have a previous birth. So how come she's talking about her karma and that she's suffering because of her karma?
Yeah. See, the God incarnates, they are not born because of their karmas. They are born because they have a compassion for us. So whatever she is saying it for our benefit.
I was wondering if she's saying it to teach humanity.
Yeah,
Karma
she's just saying it so that we learn a lesson from this. Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because to me, I think God incarnates, or even the great yogis, they are not born because of their karmic account or debt or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They only thing in their mind is, hey, we want to live an exemplary life. And that's why sometimes they go through the struggles also, so that we ordinary human beings can learn from their lives and live a life of the trials and the turbulations.
And be mindful of our thoughts and karmas.
Yeah. So it is in that light she said it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So quickly, let me go over the headings in the Hindi book also, so that you know where today's reading is coming from. So रावण का सीता को 2 मास की अवधि देना, सीता को उसे फटकारना, फिर रावण का उन्हें धमकाकर राक्षसियों के नियंत्रण में रखकर स्त्रियों सहित पुनः महल को लौट जाना. So we read it up to that point last week. राक्षसियों का सीता जी को समझाना. सीता जी का राक्षसियों की बात मानने से इनकार कर देना तथा राक्षसियों का उन्हें मारने काटने की धमकी देना. राक्षसियों की बात मानने से इनकार करके शोक संतप्त सीता का विलाप करना. सीता का करुण विलाप तथा अपने प्राणों को त्याग देने का निश्चय करना. त्रिजटा का स्वप्न, राक्षसों के विनाश और श्री रघुनाथ जी की विजय की शुभ सूचना. विलाप करती हुई सीता का प्राण त्याग के लिए उद्यत होना, सीता जी के शुभ शकुन. सीता जी से वार्तालाप करने के विषय में हनुमान जी का विचार करना. So he is watching, listening, but he doesn't know how to approach. हनुमान जी का सीता को सुनाने के लिए श्री राम कथा का वर्णन करना. सीता जी का तर्क वितर्क. सीता जी का हनुमान जी को अपना परिचय देते हुए अपने वन गमन और अपहरण का वृतांत बताना. सीता जी का हनुमान जी के प्रति संदेह और उसका समाधान तथा हनुमान जी के द्वारा श्री रामचंद्र जी के गुणों का गान. सीता जी के पूछने पर हनुमान जी का श्री राम के शारीरिक चिन्हों और गुणों का वर्णन करना तथा नर वानर की मित्रता का प्रसंग सुनाकर सीता जी के मन में विश्वास उत्पन्न करना. हनुमान जी का सीता को मुद्रिका देना. सीता का श्री राम कब मेरा उद्धार करेंगे ये उत्सुक होकर पूछना तथा हनुमान जी का श्री राम के सीता विषयक प्रेम का वर्णन करके उन्हें सांत्वना देना. सीता का हनुमान जी से श्री राम को शीघ्र बुलाने का आग्रह. हनुमान जी का सीता से अपने साथ चलने का अनुरोध तथा सीता का अस्वीकार करना. सीता जी का हनुमान जी को पहचान के रूप में चित्रकूट पर्वत पर घटित हुए एक कौवे के प्रसंग को सुनाना. भगवान श्री राम को शीघ्र बुला लाने के लिए अनुरोध करना और चूड़ामणि देना. चूड़ामणि लेकर जाते हुए हनुमान जी से सीता का श्री राम आदि को उत्साहित करने के लिए कहना तथा समुद्र तरन के विषय में शंकित हुई सीता को वानरों का पराक्रम बताकर हनुमान जी का आश्वासन देना. सीता का श्री राम से कहने के लिए पुनः संदेश तथा हनुमान जी का उन्हें आश्वासन दे उत्तर दिशा की ओर जाना. So we'll start from here next week. And then over here in the last couple of chapters about that tilk wali jo baat Sita said that my tilk was it got washed by the water, and how Ramji took that stone and put a tilk on me. It's mentioned in here too. Okay, not in a, there's no separate chapter about it or sub-chapter, but it's in the details. So that has been taken from here too. Okay, so Padmini, please.
Namaste, Harshi.
Namaste, Padmini.
Thank you. Sri Rama Charanam, Sri Rama Charanam, Sri Rama Charanam Bhaje. Sri Rama Charanam, Sri Rama Charanam, Sri Rama Charanam Bhaje. Shri Rama Charanam, Shri Rama Charanam, Shri Rama Charanam Bhaje. Shri Rama Charanam, Shri Rama Charanam, Shri Rama Charanam Bhaje. Vaidehi Ramam Vaikuntadamam, Vaidehi Ramam Vaikuntadamam, Bhupala Chudamani, Bhupala Chudamani, Shri Rama Charanam Bhaje. Atmabhiramam Prabhu Sai Ramam, Atmabhiramam प्रभु राम नामं श्रीराम चरणं भजे श्रीराम चरणं भजे श्रीराम चरणं भजे श्रीराम चरणं श्रीराम चरणं श्रीराम चरणं भजे श्रीराम चरणं श्रीराम चरणं श्रीराम चरणं भजे वैदेही रामं वैकुण्ठधामं वैदेही रामं वैकुण्ठधामं भूपालचूडामणि भूपालचूडामणि आत्माभिरामं प्रभु राम नामं आत्माभिरामं प्रभु राम नामं श्रीराम चरणं भजे श्रीराम चरणं भजे सत्य श्रीराम चरणं भजे सत्य श्रीराम चरणं भजे श्रीराम चरणं श्रीराम चरणं श्रीराम चरणं भजे Thank you.
Thank you very much, Padmini. Beautiful. Beautiful. Really enjoyed it.